Coming up on this edition of LTC News, Art in the Canals, the new season at Merrimack Repertory Theater, changes at Lowell House, and more. Welcome back to LTC News. I'm your news anchor, Al Gentili. Driving down Dutton Street, you may have seen some beautifully colored panels of cloth hanging in the arches of the old Dyers building. They are actually the Veils of Color for Lowell art installation by Barbara Poole. LTC producer Shamita Acharya spoke with the artist about the project.
I'm Barbara Poole. I'm a visual artist, and I work in a number of different mediums. Right now, I have been for the last 8 years working in textiles, specifically felt. The project I'm working on right now, the title for it is Veils of Color for Lowell, the Venice of America. That used to be Lowell's moniker, where they would call the Venice of America because of all the canals. People came from around the world to see the marvels of industry happening here, which is why I moved up here. I love the bones. When you take the canal tour, you go through a section of the canal that's called the Urban Canyon. And as you enter the Urban Canyon from the swamp walks into the Hamilton Canal, on your right side you will see the architectural remnants. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but that's what I call it. Part of that building used to be what they called the Dyers building. It was where the cloth was taken. It was white goods is what they called it, but they would bring it to this building and they would dye it, whatever color they were. And then they would take the dye and they would dump it into the canal. And I've seen pictures of the canal being red, yellow, I imagine it was other colors too. And the idea, I mean, this is pre-environmental, so they didn't know. They didn't know what they were doing was really an environmental disaster, which is why a lot of it is a cleanup site. They didn't realize this. But I love the visual idea of this ribbon of color running through. And when I took the tour, I noticed that people, they couldn't quite see it. So I wanted to pay homage to that. I wanted to create a visual dictation of dumping the dye into the canal. Hence these veils. And I wanted it to be transparent enough so that when you can see through it. When the light actually hits this, all you really see is the color. It looks like it's going to be pouring out of the window, this with nothing holding it together, just pouring down. We're going to be installing a total of 35 veils. I don't think we'll get them all done today. I plan to do it over 2 days. It involves climbing 20-foot ladders. The panels themselves are 18 feet long. 4 feet of it are on the inside, then the rest of it flips out into the window, onto the canal side without touching the canal. It's about the high water mark in the canal. And right now we're working on we started with the primary colors, we're going to the secondary colors, and then the next group of colors will be the complementaries, and then the next group after that will be the analogous, and then split complementaries and triads and quads, and it's just going to be this canyon of color to this urban canyon that's just usually hard brick.
The panels will be up through October. Make sure to go down and take a look. Next up, we have this week's City Council Synopsis with Brian Dorrington.
Hello and welcome to the City Council Synopsis for the week of September 7th. While there was no official City Council meeting this week, we were treated to 2 very important City Council subcommittee meetings: the Charter Change and Elections Committee and the Public Safety Committee. What's a subcommittee, might ask? Some of you might already know the answer to this question, but for those of you who don't know, pay attention. Our first priority here at City Council Synopsis is to educate, second is to entertain, and third is to show you Drake dancing. A subcommittee is a smaller committee consisting of 3 council members selected by the mayor to address specific issues. The role of these committees is to vote on recommendations that they will send to the entire council to vote on, or not vote on if the subcommittee is in opposition to a specific item. There are subcommittees for arts and culture, transportation, housing, and many, many more. Councilors Leary, Mercier, and Samaras discussed individual salary increases for city councilors and school committee members. For councilors, the committee recommended to increase the salary to $25,000 a year from its current rate of $15,000 a year. The school committee would go from $6,000 to $12,000, and the mayor would receive $30,000 a year because the mayor sits on both boards. It should be noted that the current council cannot give itself a raise, and the increase will not take effect until a new city council is voted in. The reason for this change, according to Mayor Kennedy, is to attract more candidates to run for office. He pointed out that the last election cycle only had 19 candidates. He said he remembers times when there were over 30. The subcommittee voted unanimously to send this recommendation to the entire council to vote on. There will also be a public hearing on the matter. Stay tuned. Next, the subcommittee voted to recommend the number of signatures required to be on the city council and school committee ballot be increased from 50 to 150. The council believes this will filter out some of those candidates who just like to see their name on the ballot and don't take the election process seriously. This too will have a public hearing and will be sent for the rest of the council to vote on. The Public Safety Subcommittee met next and discussed a loan order modification in regards to video surveillance. A while back, Police Superintendent Taylor was asked to look into ShotSpotter, a system designed to recognize the sound of a gunshot and automatically locate where the shots were fired. After doing some research, the superintendent concluded that ShotSpotter wasn't a great option for Lowell at this time. Instead, he and the town manager would like to increase video surveillance around the city. There weren't any clear indications yet as to where the cameras would be placed, but the superintendent stated that the police department will make it known to the public where the cameras are located using clearly marked signs. He also recognizes that the public may have some concerns over privacy, especially when it comes to face detection software, who gets access to the footage, and how long it's stored for. The superintendent addressed some of those concerns by stating the department will not be using face detection software and that the footage will be stored for roughly 2 weeks. The subcommittee voted to allow the town manager's office to work with Superintendent Taylor and the solicitor on loan modification. That's just a sample of what happened at the subcommittee meetings of September 6th. To watch the meetings in their entirety, tune into LTC Channel 99 or watch on demand anytime at ltc.org. Back to you, Al.
After a successful first year as artistic director of the Merrimack Repertory Theater, Sean Daniels has embarked upon season 2.0 of his sophomore season in Lowell. We went to visit the cast and crew of the current play, 45 Plays for 45 Presidents, on their very first day of rehearsal. Actors sat down with staff and community members, working their way through the script to get a sense of what works and what doesn't. Daniels says that first read-throughs are a bit of magic.
We start on the journey of how does it go from sitting around a table to the full production that you'll see. So I always think first rehearsal is a bit of magic because all is possible.
Now get over there and work on your re-election.
We haven't decided anything yet, so we collectively as a group have to start making the decisions that get us closer to opening night.
I avoided a war with Britain. Don't I deserve something for that at least?
You are so Jeffersonian.
Sean Daniels promises a great season of theater to suit everyone's tastes. And if you're wondering how an artistic director accomplishes that,
when you're planning a season, I always think it's a bit like planning a dinner party. Like one loud guy can be a lot of fun, 2 loud guys is a disaster. Then a spotlight comes up, stage left.
the current show on stage is a romp through American history with literally 45 plays for 45 presidents.
Everybody loves the first 16 presidents. We got to hustle from 16 to 31 because,
With Obama being the 44th, does Daniels know something that we don't? Who is the 45th president?
Mr. President.
Yes?
Oh, that's you.
at the end of the show, the audience will decide whether they end with a Trump play or they end with a Clinton play.
MRT's goal is to make theater accessible to everyone.
from special preview night pricing for Lowell residents to their cohort program for theater lovers like Tim Greenwood.
What it means is various members of the community are invited to come and attend rehearsals all the way through from this first read through today, way up till opening night, and write about it on wherever you write. I'd use Facebook or Google+.
It is our destiny.
Just seeing that whole progress all the way through, it's exciting.
Southern born and raised Daniels says after a year in the area, he's come to know Lowell as a gem of a community that's ready and excited for vibrant theater.
It's only when you come in from the outside that you say, like, this audience is amazing. Does everyone get that? And everyone's like, well, you know, everyone is from New England, so no one wants to brag. So the nice thing about not being from New England is that I can come in and brag about how fantastic this community is.
Likewise, Sean Daniels, great theater in our own backyard.
We've got this right on our doorstep, and it's really, really high quality.
Caroline Gallagher, LTC News.
45 Plays for 45 Presidents is on stage now at the MRT. The full season runs from September through the end of May. For more information on MRT's cohort program, volunteering, showtimes, and ticket price info, visit them online at mrt.org. And next up, let's go to North Common with Deb Belanger, Executive Director of the Greater Merrimack Valley Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Good afternoon and welcome to Let's Go with the Greater Merrimack Valley. I'm your host, Deb Belanger. Today we are at the North Commons. And the North Commons is going to be the site of our 5th annual Harvest Fest, produced by Mill City Grows. And it's going to happen on Saturday, September 17th from noon to 4. Mill City Grows is a nonprofit organization in the city of Lowell that brings sustainable, healthy food to our residents in the surrounding towns. How does Mill City Grows do that? Well, they have a farm and they have a number of community gardens where they grow food, and then they have a number of networks in which they distribute the food. You can find some of these distribution points at our local farmers market here in the city of Lowell, as well as Mill Number 5 every single Sunday, and through area farm markets all up and down the greater Merrimack Valley. But at the Harvest Festival, you will be able to tour this beautiful garden, do a little Tai Chi, there's going to be arts and crafts and dance and so much more. So I welcome all of you to get out of the house, come out and enjoy the beautiful common here in Lowell and celebrate the beautiful season of the fall. For more information, go to merrimackvalley.org.
If you would like a community garden plot of your own, go to millcitygrows.org for more information. In today's Sunspot, Lowell Sun Enterprise editor Christopher Scott speaks with executive directors Karen Frederick from Community Teamwork and Bill Garr from Lowell House about their upcoming merger.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Scott. I'm the enterprise editor at The Sun, and welcome to this edition of Sunspot, a collaboration between the newspaper, The Sun at 491 Dutton Street, and Lowell Telecommunications Corp. Today as guests I have with me two well-known executive directors of social service agencies in the city, Karen Frederick from Community Teamwork, Inc., and also Bill Garr from Lowell House. We're going to discuss CTI's upcoming affiliation, correct, or merger with Lowell House. It was announced in the newspaper on July 28th in a page one story, and we're going to be talking to both these folks for the next few minutes just to talk about what brought this on and what are the advantages or any downside as well. So Karen, why don't we shift it to you, and if you could tell our viewers, you know, how this came about and what you think the upshot of this is.
Sure. This is very exciting for us to be exploring. This is a process where we've talked to Bill and his board about Lowell House becoming part of Community Teamwork, but retaining its name and certainly some of its board members in some fashion, and that will be part of the process, what exactly the form of the merger looks like as we go forward. So it will be about a year process where
Right.
we look at due diligence and talk to each other's programs and boards and all of that. But why it's exciting to us is because obviously there's a huge issue with addiction in this community. And Lowell House is doing some great work in doing that, and we think the services that we bring can help with that in terms of stable housing, financial education, access to training, education, and jobs. We're really looking at coordinated care for all of our population that we serve, and as you know, it's over 50,000 people. We don't do addiction services right now, so it does bring something to the population that we serve that's needed, and I think that the quality of the services will fit right into our component, and the array of services that we bring will also help people move forward more quickly in their treatment.
Okay. I'd like to get back to the process
Sure.
in a little bit, but Bill, could you just tell our viewers what your reaction was and how you responded when this kind of started coming together? During your interview with The Sun, you talked about how it's difficult for some of the smaller nonprofits to handle the budgets and the human resources and issues like that. So it seems to make sense from the perspective of a Lowell House. Maybe you could tell us about that.
Oh, sure, Chris. We actually approached CTI because I think back when I first came to Lowell House 3 years ago, we took a look at the viability of what a $3.5 million agency, no matter how good they are, can survive in the community, can provide comprehensive services. So I think part of what we were looking for was a high quality agency, one that didn't necessarily do what we do, but one that could provide that full range of services and could give us a broader financial base to function in. And there are pieces we don't have in the agency, being a small agency. We don't have an HR department. We don't have some of the components that I think will help us grow and help us stabilize for many, many years to come. So after looking at a number of different agencies, I approached Karen and we talked and we thought, this might be a good deal. You don't do what we do, as Karen mentioned. We don't do what you do. So together, our criteria has always been, together, are we better off? Can we serve the community better than we can serve the community apart? We're financially stable, CTI is financially stable, so there's really no financial reasons to do this. As you know, in corporate America, that's often the reason those things are done. But for us, it's better service to the community. So in the process, and I think maybe Karen will describe a little bit of the process we're going through, we're about, I would say, 30-40% through that process. And throughout all this, the boards will have a time to say yay or nay. Is it good? Is it bad? We'll do a strategic plan together, all those pieces, and ultimately, the final decision will be, are we better together than apart?
Let's just talk about the process for a minute. Perhaps mistakenly, the Sun story that ran in July made it seem like it was already a done deal. I have no doubt, and I think both you folks know as well, that this will happen. You both want it to happen. You said your boards are supportive. But can you just take us through the process a little bit and how that plays out?
Right. And having been through this before, there are things that happen along the way that don't reflect badly on either organization, but make for a decision that, no, we won't go forward. So, what we have to do is really do the due diligence of looking at each other's organization, and that's what we're beginning right now. And that's really looking at financials and contracts, and, we'll be working with our audit firms and our attorneys to really dig in and really find out about each other's organizations. So there are no surprises. There are all kinds of things that happen in the life of big organizations and all kinds. So we really want to make sure we're doing this with our eyes open, and we're bringing it back to our boards with the information as we go forward.
When do you expect each board to officially accept a proposal that they would have to vote on?
Well, I think that will be the end of the process, because they'll be looking at the end of the due diligence phase. They'll look at that and approve or not approve. We'll look at our strategic planning together. How do our programs fit in? How does the staffing work in the organization? And I think after that approving that kind of plan will be the second part of that. The operations, we really have to dig into operations and see how will this work.
Any state regulatory approval needed, or is it just on the local level?
It's really probably more on your licensing side.
Yeah, I think we have contracts with the Commonwealth. Those may or may not need to be changed. I think it depends, as Karen said, depends what the model is. Because there's no normative purpose here, as a nonprofit. We will stay and maintain a 501c3. And to the public, it will really be transparent in terms of it won't look any different than it looks now for all intent and purposes, even though we'll know we're an affiliate and we're merged with CTI. And that merger will take place a lot at the top. It will take place not so much in the middle and the direct care programs, even though we'll have our staffs working on different committees. So eventually, when we get to that agreement, and that would probably be, if it keeps going forward at this process, probably somewhere around March or April.
Okay.
And that's really where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
In terms of what does the agreement say? Do our boards like what we have? Do we like the guarantees? Is Karen's board comfortable with the organization, what we found, the potential assets or liabilities that we have? And ultimately, if both boards agree, then we're partners.
Okay. Karen, during the editorial board with the Sun in late July, you had mentioned to us that a lot of your clients, a lot of CTI clients, have substance abuse issues, and there was something missing in CTI's ability to help them, to get them treatment. This fills that void, does it not?
It does. I mean, certainly within any population, there are people who suffer from addiction and mental health issues in the general population. And it's not one of our service areas right now. We do certainly work closely with places like Lowell House. We do a lot of referrals to places. But you know, a referral isn't the same thing as coordinated care and really looking at packaging services together. So you can refer somebody, you don't know whether they get there or not.
Right.
They might not have a bed when they get there. They might have to wait 6 months or a year. You know, so you just don't know. It's a different thing to have it be an integral part of a service plan.
And the minute we start sharing staff, we start sharing programs, we get meeting regularly together, that all changed. Now we do a lot of work with Karen's programs now, but we're still two separate agencies. So I think we looked for this to help that and to really strengthen the service system in Lowell. That's our main purpose.
Okay. We have a few minutes left. I'd like to ask you both. We've had conversations about the opioid crisis in Massachusetts, and particularly in Greater Lowell. There's been 49 opiate-related deaths in Lowell so far in the first 6 months.
Bill tells me 40.
40. Okay, yeah. You're on pace to almost double the amount from the previous year. So, kind of a long-winded way to ask a question: do you think we'd be looking at this merger or affiliation, even if there was not an opiate crisis playing out every day in the city and throughout the region?
Well, I can tell you from our perspective, yes.
Okay.
We would be looking at it anyway, because no matter what, there has always been addiction issues in our community. Now it's blossomed, so it's getting a lot more visibility. But to be able to have Karen's programs better integrate with ours just simply provides a better system. And the long-term viability that an organization of our size has it's not a good prospect. So I think stability, better programs and services, yes, we would do it anyway.
You've been here 3 years so far in the city. You're stumbling. Karen, you've been here many years.
Many.
How excited are you to have your organization affiliate with Karen's organization, an organization as well known as CTI?
I think it's fantastic. I think when we looked at agencies, what we wanted is an agency that was well known in Lowell. Check that for CTI. That has a wonderful reputation, as well as trusted. You can check that one, but also has a history, because our both agencies have great histories. We're 45 years into Lowell. I think you're probably even longer than that.
Over 50.
Over 50.
Yeah, you just had your 50th anniversary, right? Or something.
So I may be only a stumble in here for 3 years, and I love Lowell. I've learned. I wish I was here 20 years ago, Chris. But I think that we could not have picked a better match for agencies.
That's great.
If this works, it's going to work on the strength of these historic agencies.
We got to wrap up. I'm sorry, Karen. Biggest upshot of this affiliation, then Bill, you can give us the biggest upshot.
Well, I think the services, and what I was going to say is the prevention work we can do. We work multi-generationally, and there is certainly the services needed now, but there's the prevention that is a real critical piece, I think, of the answer to this whole issue, and that has to start with little kids.
Innovation, collaboration, much better doing it together, much more possible to solve this opioid crisis and to help people together than it is apart.
So do you think in about a year from now, we'll be looking at a merged facility where Lowell House is actually under the umbrella of CTI?
I'm not a betting guy. So I think that as long as we keep going, as we will in good faith, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we won't. And we'll continue being friends. We'll continue to work together. But if it works, we'll do it.
Sounds good. Karen?
Right, exactly. I think we are moving in that direction, certainly with good faith and have to do our due diligence and go through the process. And it is a process, having done this several times before. So, you know, I think it's an exciting opportunity for both of us.
I've got about a minute and a half left. Karen, I'd like to ask you, Lowell House is trying to build a new facility up on Merrimack Street. They want to tear down a building that doesn't work, that doesn't pay any taxes to the city, with one that's a productive building that is a tax producer. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's a good proposal out there on that on
I
Merrimack
think it's
Street?
certainly needed. I think the location, we haven't really had in-depth discussions about this piece of the work yet, but obviously we will. And I think that it obviously sounds like a very exciting proposal.
All right, that's great. Well, that's about it for today, folks. Thank you for tuning in. You could read more about the Lowell House Community Teamwork Affiliation in upcoming editions of The Sun, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Community Teamwork and Lowell House provide vital resources to the underserved populations of Lowell. We at LTC News wish them all the best. And that wraps up our edition of LTC News. Thank you for joining us, whether watching on cable television or on our YouTube channel, LTC Lowell MA. I'm your anchor, Al Gentili, and be well.